Welcome to another installment of Metallic Reviews, the show where I take an honest look at the harder, heavier side of music and give it an honest rating. Today, we're taking a massive step away from where we have been in the American deathcore world and diving into the metallic realms of a country that honestly doesn't really get a lot of coverage outside of Parkway Drive and North Lane. Yes, it's time to dive into Australian prog metal with an extreme twist as we examine Obliviscaris' new one, Exul, released March 24th on Season of Mist. Now, this is a group that's actually been around longer than you might think. I was shocked to find out how long this band has been around. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. These guys have been around for a hot minute. However, their first LP didn't drop until 9 years into their career. And after that, they hadn't really stopped until a little thing called the COVID pandemic hit. And they had to jump through a ton of hoops to get this project finished. Seriously, if you haven't read about how Exul came together, go read that story. It is pretty fantastic. Anyway, this is just their fourth album, their third with Season of Mist, and again, their first in a really long time. So how they do with a 6-year stopgap and a pandemic separating them in all parts of the world? Let's dive in and find out. Now, if there's one thing that ran through my mind when I first listened to this album, it was Opeth circa 2001-2002, back when they were incorporating a lot more like death metal elements into their music, and they weren't sounding as much like maybe like a Woodstock band as they do now. Now, the influence of albums like Blackwater Park and Deliverance are all over this record. But the Australians in Obliviscaris bring in their own creative sphere, so it never feels like a cheap knockoff. I've always enjoyed it whenever a metal band is able to contrast the heavy and harsh with the soft and audibly enjoyable. It's probably why I love metalcore so much. It creates a style that is so undeniably unique and thoroughly interesting to sit and just sift through, drown in, whatever you want to describe it as. It is so interesting to do that. This album was no exception, with clean vocalist and violinist Tim Charles providing a terrific bit of support to harsh vocalist Mark Campbell, who goes by the stage name Xenoear. Now, speaking of violins, that's one part where this album is really terrific. Another thing I love about metal that thinks this far outside the box is their incorporation of unconventionality. Obviously, it's not orthodox to have these sweeping, beautiful violin parts in music like this, but that's something that helps the album to stand out. I love the way that the strings are placed in the mix. They fade in and they fade out, and there's all this care that's put into where they are and how they affect the overall song structure. They weave a lot, which I really appreciate, and they speak a lot to the musicianship behind the record, and heaven knows there's a lot of that here. This is especially true on the track Misericord 2, Anatomy of Quiescence. This song is almost an ode to Charles's violin playing as he helps guide the track until he and Campbell's vocals pick things up on the other side. Now, underneath all the pretty stuff, there lies some serious metal talent. Please do not think they leave any of that out. Guitarists Benjamin Barrett and Matt Clavins are all over their respective necks, offering excellent electric contrasts to Charles's violin parts and subtly playing their way over these beautiful acoustic parts. This album has some of the best balance between electric guitar and acoustic guitar I've ever heard. Next to them, you have bassist Martino Garatoni, who joins the band for his first official outing. His bass parts are insanely inspired and play well to the strengths of the overall group. And joining him in the rhythm section is one of, in my opinion, metal's most underrated drummers in Dan Presland. He pumps out rhythms that are both thought-provoking and head-bob-inducing, which is exactly what any prog drummer should go for. Sadly, he has left the band now. He recorded his parts a while back, but, you know, as far as leaving one project and moving on to another, he definitely went out on a high. In terms of songwriting, I love how the band are able to not only balance the light and the dark elements of metal brilliantly, but also showcase that prog music, and especially prog metal, doesn't have to have 150 time signature changes in each song. You know, prog metal can simply breathe and be showcased for what it is. Shocking, I know. This is metallic music using not only unconventional song structures, but unconventional instruments, and that's what prog needs to be, and they have absolutely nailed it here. While the songs on here are long and somewhat winding, you never really feel like you're lost. There's a concerted destination, and the band does its best to get you there while offering all the proverbial musical roses to smell along the way. Now, that being said, albums of this length are always a challenge to sit and chew on in one sitting, especially for me. So it's not for everyone. For me, the one comment I'd make is in the lyricism. It's really poetic, and it has the equivalent of a small thesaurus's worth of massive words in it. It's good, but I think it could be better. It just feels like there's this disjoint between some of the passages on here. Maybe that's done on purpose. Maybe that's creative genius that I'm just not picking up on. But in any case, it just feels a little bit apart, and I'd like for it to feel a little more cohesive. But in any case, that's a small blip on what is definitely the prog release of the year so far. If you're a fan of prog metal, violin bass metal, or some synergistic fusion of the two, it's definitely for you. If not, it actually might win you over. Who knows? I enjoyed my journey, and I can't wait to chew on it again. I'm giving Exul a near-perfect 4.5 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching. Click like, and please don't forget to subscribe, trying to pump the count up over 50. Next time, we're actually going to be jumping over to Great Britain to examine an album by one of the nation's metalcore exports as we dive into Barry Tomorrow's new one, The Seventh Son. I hope you'll join me. You've been watching Metallic Reviews, where I give honest ratings to honest music, and I will see y'all next time.